Executive Director of the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, George Orphanakos.
Thank you very much. Welcome and good evening. It is a joy once again to be together with all of you as we celebrate the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. We are truly grateful for each and every one of you for your presence and your support. Please applaud your efforts and thank you for everything that you've done for the school. We want to begin this evening by offering our gratitude and appreciation and bestow our honor upon Mark Mazower, our Yanadios Prize recipient this evening. We have a special evening planned tonight. I also want to pause for a moment to thank our Gala co-chairs that put so much effort into this evening. And I'd kindly ask them to stand. Jackie McCabe, Sula Mistras, Bob Pounder, and Catherine Yatrakis. Please applaud their efforts. Outstanding. Sula ela siko. Bravo. Jackie, thank you. And really, there's an entire committee of volunteers that pulled together. I'm very, very proud of all their efforts. On behalf of the entire American School, I would also like to extend a really warm welcome to some of our previous honorees who are with us tonight. The Stavros Niarchos Foundation, who received the Yanadios Prize in 2018. Please applaud them and all their work. As well as Athens Prize recipients, Ed Cohen from last year. And, of course, our first one, John Camp. We're honored that all of you could be with us tonight. But before we commence with our program this evening, I do want to thank from the bottom of our heart all of our friends who have donated to the silent auction that you see on the right-hand side. We encourage you to please bid on these items, but if you're so inspired, you can also make direct contributions to support the work of the American School through either the iPads that are in front of you or on your cell phones by scanning the QR codes on the back of your program. And of course, all the funds that we raise tonight support the American School's efforts to preserve, to promote, and to protect Greece's past through archaeological exploration, conservation, research, publication, exhibitions, academic and public programming. And now, it's with great pleasure I introduce to you the most interesting man in the world, the chairman of our Board of Trustees, Alex Zagoreos.
George, as you can see, has a tendency to exaggerate. But thank you, George, and our gratitude to you and your team for all of the hard work putting this event together. It really is a lot of work, and it seems to be perfect so far. So far, yeah. Dear friends, to begin, let me convey the congratulations of the Board of Trustees and the entire American School family to our honoree this evening, Mark Mazower. Your contributions to the study of Greece are well known, and you're most deserving of this Yanadios Prize, and I'm very proud to be a fellow Colombian to share that honor with you in the sense that it's a great institution that you're at. As we honor you this evening, we also celebrate this incredible institution, the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. It's accomplished so much since the time when it was established in 1881. Our achievements are a testament to the commitment and generosity of many dedicated individuals. At the top of that list are the trustees and overseers, those who came before us and those who are currently serving. I would like to ask the trustees, overseers, and emeriti to please stand and be acknowledged, and I'd like all of us to thank them for their commitment of time, talent, and treasure. Thank you. Along with these wonderful folks, we want to acknowledge members of the managing committee and our academic community. We have around 450 scholars nationwide who oversee our academic program, and I know we don't have everyone here, but those of you within our academic community, managing committee, alumni, staff from our Princeton office, we would be honored if you would please stand to be acknowledged. Thank you. We are so pleased that everyone who took the time to be with us tonight, and we have amongst us a special group of individuals that are the core to the mission of the American School. Rather than just acknowledge them by name, I have invited them to join me on stage so you can see who they are and be sure to find some time to meet and talk with them tonight about their work. So please welcome the General Manager of the American School, Telos Panos. The Director of the Gennadius Library, Maria Georgipoulou. The Doreen C. Spitzer Director of the Archives of the American School, Natalia Vokikov-Brogan. The Director of the Malcolm Wiener Laboratory for Archaeological Science, Takis Karkanas. The new Director of the Athenian Agora Excavations, John Papadopoulos. And the Director of Publications, Carol Stein. Wonderful. We thank you all for what you do for the school. Thank you. Before we continue with the evening program, I wanted to let you know, if you are not aware, that in this room we have some of the most respected, learned, and prolific scholars of the Greek world. These are women and men who have made it their life's passion to study and promote Greece's past from antiquity to the present. I encourage you to search these people out tonight. Some of them may be sitting at your table. Take some time to find out who they are and what they do. They will amaze you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to welcome to the stage the Director of the school, Bono Westcott.
Thank you so much, Alex. We're grateful for all that you and the members of the Board of Trustees and the overseers do for the school. Kalispera sas, kyrios και κύριοι, αγαπητοί φίλοι. I am so pleased to welcome you here this evening and to congratulate Mark Mazauer, whose works have brought to life the powerful forces that have shaped modern Greece. And I also take this opportunity to recognize John Camp, who will be awarded the Archaeological Institute of America's Gold Medal Award for Distinguished Archaeological Achievement. This is their highest award. John, congratulations, Singharatiriya John. Now, both honorees are closely connected with the Stavros Nearchos Foundation. Mark, as director of the Stavros Nearchos Foundation Public Humanities Initiative at Columbia, and John as the Stavros Nearchos Foundation professor at Randolph-Macon College. When as a first-year graduate student I arrived on the magical island of Samothrace, I knew I was lucky. But I did not imagine then that I would be so fortunate as to stand here tonight. It's an honor to work for the American School, and to represent the school and its members in Greece. I have a rich inheritance from previous directors: Jack Davis's expansive leadership, Jim Wright's vision for archaeological projects, and Jennifer Niles' extraordinary creativity in the face of COVID have all made the school in Athens the most dynamic, resilient, forward-thinking foreign research institute in the Mediterranean, and a world leader in the study and celebration of Greek history and culture from prehistory to the present. The remarkable assets which the supporters of the school, you, and the nation of Greece have placed in our hands are well managed by the departmental leaders that you met just a moment ago, along with many dedicated women and men whose commitment and vision make each part of the school successful. They also work together to create a dynamic organization that reaches far beyond its constituent parts. We both guide and are guided by our members, from young graduate students to committed members of the managing committee, as we open new ways to explore the Greek world, from the Pleistocene in Megalopolis to the polyphonic singers of Epiros. We're one school, many ideas, many faces. Everything is going remarkably well in Athens. The academic program was in full force with a lively complement of members, advanced fellows, Gennadius fellows, and Wiener Lab fellows, and many other students and senior scholars. Loring Hall was filled to capacity all year. Our lecture program ranged from the bioarchaeological evidence for small mammals as indicators of city formation to the reforging of modern Greece generated by the Treaty of Lausanne. The Makrianis Wing exhibition, The Epic of Anatolia in the Greek Imagination, drew on the personal papers of seminal Greek writers in the archives, while the current exhibition, Two Flames, put the work of contemporary artist Manolis Horos in dialogue with the books of early poetry of the Greek national poet Dionysius Solomos from the Gennadius. The Gennadius and Blagan libraries continue to be leading institutions in Greece, while the archives keeps our history as well as that of the people that are connected with us. The Wiener Lab researchers conducting research studies in archaeological sites spanning all cultural periods and in almost all fields of the archaeological sciences. Field research remains one of the cornerstones of the school. In addition to our excavations in the Athenian Agora and at Corinth, our official affiliated projects traverse the whole of Greece, from Maklos in Crete to Malivoti in Thrace, and from the Bronze Age palace of Nestor at Pylos to the Hellenistic sanctuary of Samothrace at the Great Gods in Samothrace. Looking to the future, we're on the cusp of several exciting initiatives that are anchored in our core mission. These include reconfiguring the Stoa of Attalus to improve storage and workspace in this iconic building, creating a new master plan for Corinth to unify visitor experience, planning a new museum there to display the Roman wall paintings now under restoration, and developing creative educational initiatives at the intersection of artificial intelligence with archaeology and digital humanities. Upcoming exhibitions at the Makrianis Wing tell the story of American humanitarian relief aid during the refugee crisis of the early 20th century. They revisit Versaki neighborhood, where the Agora now stands, and they bring the work of our affiliated projects from the field into the city. In short, we are the place connecting the many disciplines and ideas that show how Greek history and culture fundamentally shape our world today. Your support ensures we will continue to flourish, and for this we thank you. Enjoy your dinner. Ευχαριστώ και καλή όρεξη.
Okay, we're good. If I could interrupt you for a moment. If I can interrupt you just for a moment, I want to ask Kathleen Lynch, the Vice Chair of the Management Committee, to come up and make a brief announcement. Kathleen?
Thank you, George. Thank you. I'm Kathleen Lynch. I'm the Vice Chair of the Managing Committee. Before we start the rest of our program, on behalf of the Gala Committee, I want to thank you for your support tonight. One way you can all help the school is by bidding on the items in our silent auction. All of these have been graciously donated, and therefore 100% of the proceeds go to the American School. If you don't want to bid on anything, you can still participate in supporting the American School by making a contribution tonight using those iPads at your tables, and I have one right here as an example. Here's an iPad. One of these iPads, all of the money we raise directly supports our academic programs and the work of the American School. And as a thank you, when you are in Athens next, please be sure to reach out to us so that we can arrange a private tour of the campus and excavations for you. If you want, you can use the iPads, or please also notice that there's a QR code on the back of your program. Both of these will connect you to the auction and the opportunities to give to the American School. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your dinner. We'll be back with you soon. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Etsi Vasili. It's wonderful to see all of you having this great conversation. That's what this is all about. We're keeping the program short, but we do want to turn the page now and celebrate someone very special, Mark Mazower. So we're really excited for that. Please, a round of applause. And to start us off, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to give a warm welcome to the chairman of the Yanadios Library Board of Overseers, Andreas Zobanakis.
I hate to get between you and your desserts, but it's a great pleasure to be here with you all tonight. Without question, one of the greatest joys for me has been the privilege to serve as a trustee of the American School and as the chair of the Yanadios Library. The Yanadios is the most important library in the world, devoted entirely to post-antique Hellenism, and holds more than 140,000 rare books, maps, and manuscripts housed in one of Athens' most iconic buildings. In 2018, we began to implement a mission for the Yanadios in the 21st century, which had as its goal the expansion of our fellowship program, increasing outreach to both local and the international communities, and continuing to build our collections. I'm proud to say that we now offer fellowships in architecture, in music, the history of the Orthodox Church, and in addition to fellowships for research in all aspects of post-antique Hellenism. The demands for these fellowships from around the world has far exceeded our expectations. We've also accelerated the pace of adding to our important collections, which already include the archives of Greece's Nobel Prize winners, the first printed edition of Homer, as well as the Baglama of Tsitsanis, and much, much more. Outreach has also increased significantly through a series of free public lectures, musical performances, and exhibitions in our purpose-built theater and exhibition hall, all of which can be accessed online from around the world. Most recently, we've launched the Thalia Potamianos lecture series, which features speakers of world renown addressing aspects of Hellenism and the influence that this has had on the world. Our first Thalia Potamianos speaker, all of whose lectures were extremely well attended, was Peter Frankopan, Professor of World History at Oxford University and author of the immensely popular book, The Silk Road. This year, our speaker is Professor Emily Wilson of the University of Pennsylvania, whose translation of the Odyssey is considered the best ever English translation of the poem. The Guardian's reviewer referred to her translation as a cultural landmark that will change the way the poem is read in English. And the New York Times reviewer wrote, "Never have I been so aware of the beauty of the poetry, the physicality of Homer's world, and moral ambiguity of those that inhabit it." So please be sure to attend one of the upcoming lectures beginning this autumn. I think the dates should be in the screen above me. None of this would have been possible without our generous supporters, our overseers and trustees, and of course the staff of the Gennadios Library led by Maria Georgopoulou. I thank her for everything she's done, but before I invite her to the stage to commence the presentation of the Gennadios Prize to Professor Mark Mazauer, it's a pleasure for me to showcase for the very first time a short film entitled Gennadios Library, The Arc of Hellenism.
In the beginning was the Word. Then he spoke, and the sea was born. And I saw, and I marveled. And in it he showed small worlds in my image and likeness, stone steeds with manes erect, and serene amphorae, and dolphins slanting backs. Ios, Sikinos, Seriphos, Milos. Each word is swallowed to bring you spring in the midst of summer, he said. Greece is a small country, but its tradition is immense and has been handed down through the centuries without interruption. The Greek language has never ceased to be spoken. It has undergone the changes that all living things experience, but there has never been a gap. This tradition is characterized by love of the human, he said. Many wise men and learned foreigners write about Greece. For myself, it was but one thing that pushed me to do so. It is that this here homeland we all share it together, wise or ignorant, rich or poor, even the humblest folk. We are in the we, not the I.
Before I introduce our next speaker, I just wanted to let you know how much I enjoyed working on the short film that you just saw. The Gennadios Library is a very special place. Each book, artifact, and manuscript tells of the fascinating story of Greece after the end of antiquity. Our purpose, our very existence, is to take people's minds on our journey to Greece's recent past. And none of what we do, the exhibits, the research, lectures, acquisition of new books, materials, our academic program, would be possible without the support of our chairman, Andreas Zombanakis, our talented board of overseers, and all of you who support our work. And for that, I thank you. And now, it is my distinct privilege to call to the podium Catherine Elizabeth Fleming, so she might introduce to us our Gennadios Prize recipient, Mark Mazauer. So you'll give me a couple of seconds to talk about Catherine. So Katie is a historian of modern Greece and also of the broader Mediterranean. She is the president and CEO of the J. Paul Getty Trust since April 2022. She is also the Alexander S. Onassis Professor of Hellenic Culture and Civilization at the Department of History at NYU, where she served as provost from 2016 to 2022, and earlier as director of the Remark Institute, which supports the multidisciplinary and comparative study of Europe and its near neighbors. Fleming is also a permanent associate member of the faculty of the Department of History of the École Normale Supérieure in Paris. Katie Fleming is a prolific writer. Her first book, The Muslim Bonaparte, Diplomacy and Orientalism in Ali Pasha's Greece, is a rich account of Ali Pasha and his legacy in Greece and the Balkans. It has become a classic for all those working on the period. Her second book, Greece, A Jewish History, has broken new ground on a very important topic and has received numerous awards. As an academic and public intellectual, Katie Fleming has been honored by the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the Légion d'honneur of France, and in addition to the award of honorary Greek citizenship, she has also been decorated as a Commander of the Order of Beneficence in recognition of her contributions to Greek culture and her contributions to arts and letters. Please give a warm welcome to Catherine.
Good evening. It's a little bit embarrassing when the introduction of the introducer is lengthier than that of the introducer. I want to say it's a real delight to be here with all of you to celebrate one of my absolutely favorite institutions, the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, and its wonderful library, the Gennadius, about which you've just heard a bit. But it's even more of a delight to be here to celebrate one of my absolutely favorite people, Mark Mazower. Thank you all immensely for joining me and joining us for this really happy occasion. Now, in 1994, an obscure graduate student rang up on the phone an emerging academic superstar. The student was in London for a few days, where the academic was based. He was in his mid-30s, and his second book, a slow burn blockbuster about Greece under German occupation, had come out the year before. This was before the internet, of course, thank God. So the fact that the superstar actually answered the telephone himself is perhaps not unexpected. What is extraordinary, though, is that far from giving this student a polite brush-off, he instead invited them to dinner. Not 24 hours later, the two were having dinner at, naturally, a lovely Greek restaurant in Primrose Hill, I believe Le Monien, and the academic was generously sharing his thoughts with this student on her admittedly rather ill-formed dissertation topic. Now, the emerging superstar, of course, was tonight's honoree, Dr. Mark Mazower. And that same generosity, intellectual, social, fundamentally human generosity has been characteristic of his whole career, even as he has steadily climbed his way to the very pinnacle of academic and public intellectual fame. We're here to celebrate Mark's career accomplishments through the much-deserved receiving of the Gennadius Prize. But because I was that graduate student some 30 years ago, I want to be sure that we also celebrate Mark as an extraordinary human being, a wonderful father, son, grandson, brother, partner, and friend. Mark is a generous interlocutor to colleagues, a welcoming host, I have abused that part of things, and he has sustained meaningful relationships over the course of decades and across oceans. This is indeed a man who understands the full weight and value of history. Now, another thinker about history was the great Greek poet George Seferis, who had an abiding fascination with history and the question of whether it could still have meaning in modern Greece, a country both obsessed with and alienated from its glorious past, whether you like it or not. A past that has been claimed by everyone and that consequently belongs to no one, perhaps, Greek and foreigner alike. Seferis writes movingly of this, of our souls, quote, "Swimming in the waters of this sea and of that sea, without the sense of touch, without people, in a country that is no longer ours nor yours, μέσα σε μια πατρίδα που δεν είναι πια δική μας, ούτε δική σας." Mark has illuminated Europe's history with his intimate knowledge of Greece, just as he has written more insightfully about Greece, precisely because he is not just a Hellenist, but also a Europeanist. In fact, Mark is perhaps the Europeanist par excellence working today. His work swims in the waters of many seas, and it has been utterly decisive in giving Greek history, modern Greek history, its deserved place at the center of our understanding of modern Europe. And in doing so, he has made Greece a place that is much more diki mas, ours, all of ours. Thank you, Mark. Congratulations on your stellar career, and much more, thank you for being a stellar friend and human being. And I invite you all now to direct your attention once again to the screen for a viewing of the world premiere of A Short History of Greece with Mark Mazauer. Thank you.
The books that I've written about Europe, or about the idea of governing the world, have been to a certain extent books that were written, let's say, at 30,000 feet. But if you really want new ideas to emerge, in my own experience, they come from staying close to the ground. The richness of history lies in the unpredictability of real facts. So those unpredictable stories are what generate the abstract ideas. For me, in my case, it was Greece, and it will always be Greece because it's a cumulative process. Actually, the story begins in geologic time with the last rising of the Mediterranean and the creation of the modern Greek geography of islands and pitted coastline and scarce arable land that somehow attracts settlement. And life is not easy in this relatively dry terrain, and a very specific ecology emerges around olives and figs and shepherding that in some quite extraordinary way generates urban life rather early on. And not just one city or two cities, a huge number of cities in a relatively small area, all communicating with one another, developing this extraordinary cultural, philosophical production that we know, not developing into a great imperial system, but rather being taken over and becoming the plaything of imperial systems over centuries. The penultimate of these great imperial systems is the Ottoman, in which actually they flourish to the point where they can establish contact with the new technologies of print and the new ideas that are emerging in Western Europe. Amongst those new ideas is the idea of nationalism and a level of organization and conspiratorial organization that, after several unsuccessful attempts, allows them against all the odds to rise up and find that they now have a very modern task on their hands, which is to construct a state, which none of them have any experience of. And the story of the last 200 years is the story of what that state becomes, how it shapes the people within it, and what its vision of itself is. And because of this very long history, that vision of itself must necessarily include, in a very deep way, a vision of the past of the Greeks. And of course that's where Mr. Gennadios comes in. And the library, as the expression of Gennadios' interests, as a very self-confident member of something quite new, which was this new bourgeois elite that held the future of the country in its hands. He was thinking with history, he wanted his country to think with history, and the library is a machine for thinking with history. From the first moments of independence, there is this question of what the relationship is between the state with its clearly defined boundaries and Hellenism, because Hellenism is operating on a much more far-flung plane, and there are Greeks all over the Balkans, and there are Greeks in Anatolia, there are Greeks in the Middle East. And they have no difficulty understanding Turkish, understanding Albanian. Gennadios was very early to understand that the archives of this part of the world are multilingual. You need to look at what the Venetians mapped out across the Peloponnese, a whole overlapping Venetian imperium that was much of the Greek world. And on the other hand, you have this wonderful literature of the travelers' accounts brought to Greece often by Philhellenism, which is a very important cultural document of the 19th century, because it shows just how large the Greeks loomed in the European imagination. The fact that Greek was the language of the church and therefore the language of literacy for hundreds of years immediately opens up realms that are not available to you if you are interested in the history of Albania. And the archives of Ali Pasha, which we can now read, are full of surprises as well. Just the sheer extent of the Greek involvement in his entourage, in his court. But the strange culture of Ioannina that I think we don't fully understand yet, that was this striking fusion of Greek and Albanian and Turkish. And I think it's astonishingly recently that the study of Greek history has caught up with the Gennadios, because this was always the premise of the Gennadios library, as it had been of Gennadios himself, that all of this, as far as he was concerned, and he was totally right about this, was part of the history of Greece. That was how the Greeks should think about their own past. And the Gennadios is a machine to do that with.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our Gennadius Prize recipient, Mark Mazauer. On behalf of the Board of Overseers of the Gennadius Library, on behalf of the Board of Overseers of the Gennadius Library, I hereby present you with the Gennadius Prize for outstanding contributions to the advancement of knowledge of post-antique Greece. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Here, I'll take it back and put it down. Thank you, thank you.
Well, may I begin by thanking my fellow overseers, not only for this honor, but for the privilege of working together in such good cause. For Greece, the country that we all know and love, and for the world of scholarship in general, the Gennadius Library is a unique and vital resource. We're lucky to have it, with its brilliant and dedicated staff, led by the incomparable Maria Georgopoulou, its director. A few years ago, a book I wrote on the city of Thessaloniki won a prize. And at the awards ceremony in London, I was standing with my father, Bill, when someone asked him what he thought about it. "Oh, I quite liked it," he replied. "It's just that on page 182, you say that, quote, in the summer months, the inhabitants of Ottoman Salonika gravitated to the upper town to escape the heat. And I don't really think you can be said to gravitate uphill." I wish that my father were present now to stop me gravitating uphill, and I know that my mother at home in London would have got huge pleasure from being able to be with us and is even now waiting up for a report. Nothing has been more important in my life than family, and I'm very happy that my brother David and my partner Julie can be here this evening. Scholarship is often portrayed as a solitary activity, and so it generally is. But friends, good friends, old friends, make it possible. So thank you, Katie and Svi, for a friendship that's lasted for many, many years and brought such delight. And Katie, for your support this evening. It means a lot. My old college classics tutor, Donald Russell, who learnt Japanese in 6 months and spent the Second World War deciphering enemy intercepts, once said that he'd learnt 3 things at Bletchley Park. Quote, to work quickly and on time, to work in a team, and not to expect credit for what he'd done. I'm afraid that the last of these places him in an earlier generation than mine. As for the first, I probably learnt that from him, but the second has come more recently, and I'd like to thank Paul Leclerc for teaching me the rare pleasures of collaboration, and Betsy and Daniel Cohen for their support and trust in the work we've been doing together to bring artists and scholars in a common enterprise. The Stavros Niarchos Foundation has also been an indispensable and far-sighted partner, and it's my pleasure to thank its representatives who are here tonight. Let me also acknowledge my gratitude to my university, Columbia, which has been the best of homes under the leadership of Lee Bollinger, thanks to whom it's now in the process of developing ever closer ties with Greece. Which brings me to the Gennadius. As you all know, it's one of that select group of institutions that emanates the personal charm of its founder's outlook, while playing at the same time a role as a scholarly and cultural resource on an international level. The classics have been foundational to the West's sense of itself, and so there are many centers of classical studies. But there's only one Gennadios Library, one institution dedicated to the study of post-classical Greece and the Greeks through the centuries. It really is unique. Odoswedias, which runs between the Gennadios and the American School of Classical Studies, can sometimes seem very wide. Conceptually, and I speak as a former student of classics, a constant effort has been needed over the years to bring the classical and the post-classical into conversation with one another, though I think this is now happening more productively than ever before. But as we approach the library's centennial year, I wonder if that distance is not now narrowing for other reasons. A world of global warming is changing not only our climate, but our very framing of history itself. For the early philosophers of the past, the divide between ancients and moderns was secondary to a much more basic divide, that between the world of nature and the world of man's actions. As those two, the world of nature and the world of man's actions, for the first time become ever more entangled, we can see the force of their view. From the perspective of the rise and fall of oceans, of the last melting of the ice across Europe, of the extraordinary remains of lower Paleolithic hominid activity found in the Marathusa animal pits more than 400,000 years in the past. From that perspective, to insist on the yawning gulf between the classical and the post-classical begins to seem slightly beside the point. On the contrary, it seems more and more obvious with every year that passes that they form part of the same brief human continuum. And for anyone interested in that story, Greece, with its unrivaled and rich evidentiary base stretching across the centuries, will be an essential destination. And the Gennadios Library, with its mission to illuminate how civilization has endured across the centuries in the most fragile of conditions, will surely remain indispensable as we search for new ways of understanding our past and ourselves. It's an honor to receive this prize in the name of such a precious institution. Thank you all for being here this evening to celebrate it with me. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mark, and thank you all for joining us this evening. I have to pause for a moment and thank and extend my gratitude to the office at Princeton. Particularly, I want to thank Nancy Savaidis, who's here with us tonight, for her excellent work. Yeah, I have to tell you, I'm very proud of how this program has developed, but many of you may not know, this is all done internally. From the slides to the shows, to the centerpieces that were designed by Sula Mistras, Denise Cicchini, and Lehman Liadis at a fraction of the cost. That ensures that all of your resources go to the mission of the school. So I just can't thank you enough for your support, for the volunteers that have joined us, for our staff in Princeton, and for our colleagues in Athens that came to be with us. We do hope that you will join us next year on Thursday, May 9th, 2024. And if you've been impressed, tell a friend. Let's bring more people here. Let's share the story. This evening, we've offered as a small gift those luggage tags that are around your napkins. I hope you didn't throw them away. Okay, and I hope they take you to Greece. I also want to tell you, you probably didn't look in your Gala program. I don't remember which page it is. There's a little secret in there, a special gift to you from us. Look at the page. There's a Visit Us section. Anyone have a page number? That's your homework. Yell it up here. Visit Us. There's a QR code there. You can schedule a private tour. Our campus is, certain sections are open to the public, but you can schedule a tour when you come to Athens, and we'd be delighted to show you around. And also on the way out, we have a gift for you, Mark Mazauer's book, 1821. We have one per couple or guest if you're here by yourself as you exit the doors. But we do hope we're going to be closing that silent auction at 9:15. So we have a few more minutes. We hope that you will bid and bid high and enjoy your company. We have the space until 10 o'clock. But do join us next year. And we kindly ask the winners, when you're over, to please go check out in a timely manner. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll be with us next year.